guys, what up? It's your girl Lisa and welcome back to Lisa's Laboratory. I'm so glad you guys decided to tune in. As you know, it is the second Thursday of November, which means this video is about my healing journey. So I think it's only right that we kick off this video with me being open and honest about where I'm at. Truth be told, I'm not doing too hot, y'all. I'm really not doing too good. I don't consider myself a particularly fake person, though I do aim to keep this channel somewhat positive, and I like to try to put my best foot forward. I don't think, having a 24/7 pity party for myself is helpful, healthy, or productive, so I don't. But it's just a lot going on, so let's get into it. So if you've seen my earlier videos, you kind of already understand or might understand that I spent a big chunk, if not all of this summer, homeless. I did move into this apartment I'm in now August 22nd. So I spent half of May, all of June, and all of July, and then all the way up to August 22nd, homeless. For a little bit, we were living in a hotel, me, my brother, and our two dogs, just sharing a motel room and all of that, which was obviously not ideal. But I mean, I'm grateful that we still had a roof over our head, even amidst our homelessness, because, I've experienced homelessness without a roof over my head. When I aged out of foster care, I didn't have anywhere to go or to be. I didn't have a place or a family to call home. I couch surfed with my biological mom and my older brother when I first aged out, but truth be told, that was just not a really good situation for me. My biological family, for the majority of them, just were very hateful and mean to me when I came home. I was in a really bad headspace. Something traumatic had happened to me a couple weeks prior to aging out, and I just wasn't dealing with it whatsoever. So when I came back to Connecticut at 18, I wasn't doing what I needed to do to take care of myself. I wasn't showering every day. I wasn't brushing my teeth. I wasn't changing my clothes, which none of those things are good, but coupled together, they are definitely a big indicator that someone is not doing well mentally. So in hindsight, I do feel sad that, very few people took the time to give me grace and empathy and compassion in that really dark time of my life. And what makes me sadder is that a lot of them really are trying to rewrite the history of how, 2017 and early 2018 went. Me though, I am really adamant on living in and speaking my truth, regardless of who's gonna hear it, who might be hurt by it, and how it makes me look. So that is what it is. It's not my job to sit here and try to convince people who know the truth that the truth is the truth. So as hurtful as it is to hear certain people try to deny what they put me through and what I had to endure at the hands of this so-called family, it is what it is. I truly don't like to take up too much energy actively hating people, because it doesn't do anything to them, Like, I'm real quick to block. The majority of my family is blocked right now. And yeah, if you don't pour into me the way I pour into you, you gotta go. So all that being said, it was just a very chaotic summer, very dark. So now that I'm here, I guess I was a little naive in thinking that once I finally did have a safe place to call home, that my mental health would just get better automatically, and that's just not true. It's not that, I don't have good days, because I do, as you guys have seen. My weekends are definitely my favorite part of the week, as most people, would agree anyway. But for me, that's when my godson is here, and he truly does mean the world to me. And I see my boyfriend the most on the weekends as well. So I feel like I get to experience what it really means to have a family, Friday through Sunday. And that's something I just can't put a price tag on. But outside of that, I do take 2 medications. One is for my depression and anxiety. It's called Paxil, and that's a really helpful medication. I'm on a good dose for that. My other medication is a mood stabilizer for my bipolar called lamotrigine. At the correct dose, that is also a really helpful and useful medication for me. However, right now I'm just at too low of a dose through no fault of my own or even my psychiatrist. Truly, we just live in a capitalistic country that prioritizes money and profit over human lives and well-being. America. So my insurance was giving me and my pharmacy, which was Walgreens at the time, a really hard time about me being able to pick up my meds. It was this whole big thing that by the time it was resolved and I was able to get back on track with reordering my meds and stuff like that, I had been cold turkey off of my meds for a week, which is a pretty big deal, especially with lamotrigine. It's to my understanding that when you start off on too high of a dose of lamotrigine, it can have some pretty gnarly side effects. So to err on the side of caution, my psychiatrist did choose to bump me back down to the lowest dose and start working me back up. I completely understand, and I'm grateful that she's being careful with my life and well-being. Though I can't say it's not very overwhelming and frustrating to, be back on such a low dose. I feel like after spending damn near the majority of my life feeling, mentally unwell and like I'm not in control of my own feelings and emotions, that time period between, August and I would say mid-October, feeling okay and feeling, like I am in the driver's seat. I control my emotions don't control me. And then that week without the meds really reset a lot of that progress. And even though I am back on meds now, again, it's not the correct dose. And there's been a mixture of like my body still adjusting from going cold turkey like that, coupled with now I've been on my meds again for 2 weeks. So I'm still kind of experiencing the side effects of restarting the meds. Plus I'm not super regulated as I was because again, it's not where I'm supposed to be. It's just a lot going on, and I find myself really struggling. And when I'm in like my dark space, it's really easy for me to feel like I'm abnormal or weird or freaky for going through what I'm going through. It's a very lonely headspace to be in. So that's why, doing these healing journey videos means so much to me, because even if just one person watches this video and feels a little less alone, or feels empowered to speak their story or reach out for help, my job is done. So, yeah. So now you might be wondering, Lisa, what you be suffering? What you be going through? I'm finna tell y'all, damn, give me a minute. So the first thing I want to dive into is called depersonalization. I just recently learned this word, although I've been struggling with it for a very long time. I'd say at least since 15, 16. So for me, when I'm struggling with depersonalization, I just don't know if I'm real or not. I know that might sound a little foreign or strange to someone who's never quite experienced it. Unfortunately, I really can't describe it enough for you to put yourself in my shoes. I'd say my senses feel dulled. Like if it's really cold outside, and I can see like that via the temperature on my phone, I might step outside and I don't even feel the cold, I feel numb. Or I'm eating food and it just tastes bland and blah, 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 I don't have COVID. My body is kind of not quite connected to my mind in the way that it's supposed to. It is really hard when that happens. I don't know how to get back to my body at those times. It really is just a wait it out and, ask for help if it starts to get too hard type of situation. But a couple weeks ago, when I was just about 4 or 5 days off of the lamotrigine during that insurance issue, I experienced for the first time what my therapist says is called derealization. And what that meant for me is that when I woke up that morning, I knew I was real, but it felt like the world around me was not. So I really hope y'all have seen the movie Coraline, because it's a classic. And if you have, you know that, she starts off in obviously the real world, but then eventually goes to the other world and meets like her other mother and her other father and things like that. And things are similar in the other world, but they're just a little bit off. And I think that's the closest I can come to trying to articulate that experience. Please believe me when I say it's genuinely one of the most terrifying things I have ever experienced. It was just awful. I woke up and the colors of the world were wrong. I wasn't seeing in black and white or anything drastic like that, but it seemed like the colors were just dulled. And so that set off my alarm bells immediately. Familiar tastes were really like foreign and like, what is this? And then for me, like the final straw was when I went to go smell my boyfriend's clothes, because his scent is really grounding for me when I'm having a panic attack and he's not here to help me through it. I smelled one of his articles of clothing and I'm like, who the hell is this? So I was like, yeah, no, this is crazy. I knew right then and there that this was something bigger than me, being able to handle on my own, and even bigger than like my general support system and my friends and family. My psychiatrist, I've only been working with her for about 2 months now, so I don't really trust that lady 100%. But my therapist I've been working with for 5 years now, and I trust that man wholeheartedly. So I emailed him, because it wasn't our regular day to meet. So I emailed him around 7 a.m. asking if we can have like a important sesh, like last minute, because I just wasn't doing too good. And he obliged, of course, as he always does when I need it, or really just in general. And it was really relieving, you believe it or not, to hear that it was derealization, because I was truly worried that I was experiencing psychosis or something along those lines. And while I still don't really understand what psychosis is, if not derealization, all I know is they will send you on a grippy sock vacation for psychosis if it gets too serious. So, once I talked to my therapist and realized, okay, this is not psychosis, all that good shit, I did reach out to my psychiatrist next. We had an appointment later in the week, and I'm glad I reached out to her, because she was actually able to explain to me that one of the side effects of going cold turkey from a high dose to nothing or a low dose of lamotrigine is suffering from derealization. So now that I know that I definitely do need to be on top of the ball with my finger on the pulse when it comes to my medicine and refilling it and all those good things, because I never want to experience that again. I say another big thing I'm dealing with right now is constant, intense, and very long panic attacks. I couldn't even quite tell you guys what all the triggers are. I just seem to have so many, or maybe they're just coming out of nowhere. I'm not really sure. But I have these panic attacks where, anxiety can present in different people in like different ways, but you do have a physical reaction to anxiety. For me, my anxiety sits in my chest. And so when I say that, I mean when I'm getting worked up and I'm getting more and more anxious, it almost feels like what I imagine a heart attack probably feels like. I have this stabbing pain in my heart, and I feel like almost someone stabbing and squeezing my heart at the same time. Feels like, a sumo wrestler is just sitting on my chest. I can't breathe. And then my mind is just racing. I struggle with rumination a lot, which is sort of like I get caught in these negative thinking patterns that I can't break free of. And then I go around in circles so much that eventually it starts a downward spiral. So I ruminate a lot in my panic attacks. I'm sure most people do. And lately, a lot of my tried and true tools for, breaking free of these panic attacks just aren't hitting the same way anymore. I don't really have an answer as to why yet. Maybe it's just, some things kind of get old, but I don't know. I truly am just grasping at straws, trying to figure out how to be okay again while, my meds are getting sorted out, because between then and now, I don't want to keep feeling like how I've been feeling. Every day feels like an uphill battle. My anxiety is through the roof. And, like I said, the Paxil is working as hard as it possibly can, but it can only do so much. You feel me? Like, I need to touch the hem of Jesus. Just kidding, I'm a Muslim, but, no, it's hard. And I feel like because I grew up alone and only able to rely on myself, I really struggle with reaching out and leaning on my support system. I have this hyper independence that doesn't come from actually wanting to do everything on my own, rather than feeling like I can't trust or rely on the other people in my life, or even that I'm a burden. It's hard for me to ask my support system for help. A big part of my support system, they're my found family. These aren't people, I have a blood relation to. It's my bestie Jazz, who was my roommate when I, first went to college and did a trimester at Johnson & Wales. Or, my best friend Jordan, who we met at Curry College in Massachusetts on my second attempt at college. It's people like my boyfriend Alexis, who we've met this year, but I've already grown to know and love him so much. I really feel like I have had an Alexis-sized hole in my heart my whole life, and I just didn't know it until I met him, and he fit in it, And one of my biggest fears now that I have collected this family of mine is to lose them. I think when you take a look at the black and white facts of my life, I've been abandoned many times by many different people. The fact that I was even in foster care for the majority of my life means that I wasn't able to rely and depend on my biological parents the way I should have been able to. So it can definitely be hard for me to believe in my hard and dark moments that these people who have no actual obligation to me can love me so deeply and unconditionally, when the people who should and I wish did just don't. So those are just a couple of things I've been struggling with lately. And I don't know, I have confidence that, I'll land on my feet. I always do. That's why I am where I am now. But, sad to say, sometimes rock bottom has a basement. And I've never really liked basements. I don't even go in the basement here, and it's just storage. So I'm really just trying not to get that far into the hole, because obviously the deeper I go, the more climbing out I have to do. So in that, I do need to, keep staying vigilant about swallowing my pride and my fear and my anxiety, and, just reaching out and asking for the help. One of the things my therapist said a couple weeks ago that actually has really been resonating with me in relation to Alexis is that, he was like, Alexis is a grown man, If you ask him for something and he don't want to do it, he'll say no. I said, clock it, and this is why he gets paid the big bucks. Not by me, but by my insurance. So sad to say, things aren't going as smoothly as I'd hoped it would be, this late into the year. But I am also pleased to say that, this is not the end of my story. I didn't come this far to only come this far. And, I'm going to just keep fighting these demons, they ain't beat me yet, so I'm going to just keep fighting. Pow, pow. One day at a time. That's all I can do. And you know what? I hope y'all do too. I really appreciate all the views that I get. Not all y'all been liking, but it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes I just be forgetting to like the videos I like too. But views or no views, likes or no likes, it's really just been very helpful and freeing to make these videos and have something to look back on as far as my progress. And I'm just so grateful that I get to share this journey with you guys. I don't know. I see great things in the future. And hopefully a snack too. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope to see you guys next week. And you know, if you know, you know, and if you don't, now you will. Cause next week's video, we're gonna go back into my Saturday, whatever, you know, I get into over the weekend with the gang and them. So I'll see y'all and y'all see what I have cooking. All right. Mwah. And I love you guys. Bye.